After I took my last breath, I thought everything would fade to black. But it didn't. Instead, there was light, not the harsh, fluorescent light of the hospital room where my body lay. This was different, softer, warmer. The kind of light that doesn't hurt your eyes if you still have eyes to hurt. I wasn't sure what I had anymore. I could see the room below me. The machines that had been beeping steadily now formed a single, endless tone. The nurses rushed in. My daughter, my beautiful Sarah, collapsed against my chest, her shoulders shaking with sobs that made no sound, at least not to her. But I heard them, every breath, every broken word, every prayer she whispered into my still body. Please don't leave me. Please, I'm not ready. I wanted to tell her I wasn't ready either, that 47 years wasn't enough, that I needed more time to fix things, to say the words I'd left unsaid, to be the mother I'd always meant to be, but my mouth wouldn't move because it wasn't mine anymore. I was somewhere above it all now, suspended, watching, and slowly, so slowly beginning to understand. This wasn't the end, this was something else entirely. They say your life flashes before your eyes when you die. That's not quite right. It doesn't flash, it unfolds. Like a film reel playing in reverse, then forward, then sideways, through moments you'd forgotten existed. The big moments, yes, my wedding day, Sarah's birth, the divorce, but also the small ones, the ones that seem meaningless at the time. The way the sunlight looked through the kitchen window on Tuesday mornings, the smell of Sarah's hair when she was 6 and would climb into my lap after school, the sound of rain on the roof the night I cried myself to sleep after he left. Him, even in death, I couldn't escape him. Marcus, the man I'd loved, the man who'd promised me forever and delivered 3 years before walking out the door with someone younger, prettier, less complicated. The man who'd left Sarah asking, why doesn't daddy want us anymore? The man I'd spent 19 years hating. I could see him now in my memories. Not as the villain I'd painted him to be, but as he actually was. Flawed, scared, broken in his own ways. A man who'd made terrible choices, yes, but who'd also made Sarah laugh with his terrible jokes. Who'd taught her to ride a bike. Who'd cried, actually cried, the day he left, even though I'd refused to see it at the time. I'd only seen betrayal, and I'd held onto it like a lifeline, like if I stopped hating him, I'd drown in something worse. But now, floating here in this in-between place, I realized something. The hate had been drowning me all along. The first few days after death were strange. I don't know how to describe it except to say that time didn't work the way it used to. Minutes stretched into hours, hours collapsed into seconds. I was everywhere and nowhere, present and absent. I watched Sarah plan my funeral. She sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd taught her to do homework, where we'd eaten countless dinners in comfortable silence. And she made lists, who to call, what to wear, what songs to play. She chose Amazing Grace. I'd always loved that hymn. She didn't know that I was there, hovering just beyond the edge of her vision, that I was trying desperately to reach her, to touch her shoulder, to whisper, I'm here, I'm still here. But I couldn't. Whatever I was now, soul, spirit, consciousness without form, I had no weight, no substance. I was like air, like light, like memory, and memories can't hold anyone. The funeral was beautiful. I don't say that with pride. I say it with a strange, detached observation. The flowers were white lilies, my favorite. The casket was simple pine, just like I'd written in my will years ago when Sarah was still in high school and thought I was being morbid. Mom, you're not going to die, she'd said, rolling her eyes. But I had died, and here we were. Sarah stood at the front of the church in a black dress I'd never seen before. She must have bought it for this. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen. She held a piece of paper in her trembling hands, a eulogy she'd written. I floated closer. My mom was. She paused, her voice breaking. My mom was the strongest person I knew. She raised me alone after my dad left. She worked 2 jobs so I could go to college. She never complained, never asked for help, never. She stopped, pressed her hand to her mouth, breathed. She never told me she was scared, but I know she was. I know she carried so much pain. And I wish I could have told her that she didn't have to carry it alone. Something in me, whatever me was now, ached. not physical pain. This was deeper. This was the pain of regret, of all the conversations we never had, all the walls I'd built to protect myself that had ended up keeping her out too. I'd been so focused on being strong that I'd forgotten to be vulnerable, and now it was too late. After the funeral, people gathered at Sarah's apartment. It was small, too small for the crowd that showed up. Friends from work, neighbors, people I barely remembered. They ate casseroles and told stories about me that made me sound like a saint. She was always so generous. She never said a bad word about anyone. She was an inspiration. I wanted to laugh. If only they knew. If only they knew about the nights I'd screamed into pillows, the days I'd called in sick to work because I couldn't stop crying, the times I'd looked at Sarah and resented her just for a moment because she had Marcus's eyes and his smile and I couldn't escape him, even in my own daughter's face. I wasn't a saint. I was just someone who'd learned to hide her cracks well. But Sarah knew. I could see it in the way she moved through the crowd, nodding and smiling and thanking people while her eyes stayed empty. She knew that I hadn't been perfect, that I'd been angry and bitter and closed off in ways that had hurt us both. And she loved me anyway. That more than anything broke me. 3 weeks after I died, Sarah did something I didn't expect. She called Marcus. I was in her apartment. I'd learned by then that I could move through space just by thinking about where I wanted to be. And I watched her pace the living room with her phone pressed to her ear. Hi, Dad. Her voice was quiet, uncertain. I I wanted to let you know that Mom passed away 3 weeks ago. Silence on the other end, then a sound that might have been a sob. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have been there. It's okay. No, it's not. I haven't been there for you or for her, not for a long time. Sarah sat down on the couch, pulled her knees to her chest. I know. I loved her, Sarah. I know you probably don't believe that. I know she didn't believe it, but I did. I didn't know how to show it. And by the time I figured it out, it was too late. Anger flared in me, hot and familiar. Too late? It had been too late the moment he walked out. Too late the moment he chose someone else. Too late the moment he stopped showing up for Sarah's birthdays, her graduations, her life. And now we had the audacity to cry about it. But Sarah's response surprised me. I believe you, Dad. What? I believe you loved her. And I think she loved you too. Even after everything. She just didn't know how to let go of the hurt. I wanted to scream, to tell Sarah she was wrong, that I'd stopped loving Marcus the day he left, that I'd buried that love so deep it could never be resurrected. But as I hovered there, listening to my daughter speak truths I'd never been able to, something shifted. Because maybe she was right. Maybe I had loved him, even through the hate, even through the years of silence and resentment. Maybe that was why it hurt so much. Sarah invited Marcus to coffee. I followed her to the small cafe downtown, the one with the brick walls and the mismatched furniture and the barista who always drew little hearts in the foam. She sat by the window, nervously twisting her napkin into knots. And then he walked in. Marcus looked older, grayer, tired in a way that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with regret. He saw Sarah, and his whole face crumpled, just for a moment, before he pulled himself together and walked over. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Dad. They hugged awkwardly, like strangers who used to know each other. And I watched, suspended somewhere between the table and the ceiling, as my daughter sat down across from the man who'd hurt me more than anyone else in the world. Thank you for meeting me, Marcus said. His voice was rough. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I would either. He nodded, looked down at his hands. Your mom, she was an incredible woman. She was. I failed her. I know that. I failed both of us at you. Sarah didn't argue, didn't try to make him feel better. She just said, yeah, you did. The honesty of it hung in the air between them. And then Sarah said something that made the world tilt. But I forgive you. No, 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 no. I wanted to shout, to reach down and shake her, to tell her that he didn't deserve forgiveness, that he'd abandoned us, that he'd broken me in ways I'd never fully healed from. But Sarah kept talking. I forgive you because, holding onto this anger, it's been killing me. And it killed Mom. Not the cancer, the bitterness, the refusal to let go. I watched her carry that weight for 19 years, Dad, and I don't want to carry it anymore. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your forgiveness. No, Sarah agreed. You don't, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me and for Mom, because she never got the chance to let go. And I think that's what kept her trapped. Even at the end, trapped. The word echoed through me. Was that what I'd been? Trapped, not by Marcus, not by the divorce, but by my own inability to forgive. I didn't leave the cafe when Sarah did. I stayed, hovering in that space between the living and whatever comes next, trying to process what I'd just witnessed. My daughter had forgiven the man who hurt me, and I was angry, furious even, because forgiveness felt like betrayal. Like Sarah was saying that what Marcus did was okay, that the years of pain and struggle and loneliness didn't matter. But as I replayed her words in my mind, I'm doing it for me, something cracked. Sarah wasn't saying Marcus was right. She wasn't excusing him. She was releasing herself from the prison of his mistakes. The same prison I'd locked myself in. The same prison I'd apparently carried even into death. Time passed differently in this in between place. Days blurred into weeks. Or maybe it was hours, or maybe it was years. I couldn't tell anymore, but I stayed close to Sarah, watched her grieve, watched her heal, watched her laugh again, tentatively at first, then fully, deeply, the kind of laugh that shook her whole body. She started seeing a therapist, joined a grief support group, wrote in a journal every night before bed, and slowly, so slowly, the heaviness that had settled over her after my death began to lift. She was healing in ways I never had. And I was still here, stuck, hovering, unable to move forward or back. I began to wonder if this was hell, not fire and brimstone, just this, being forced to watch the world continue without you, to see your daughter thrive while you remain frozen in the moment of your death, unable to let go. And then one night, as Sarah sat on her couch, writing in her journal, she said something out loud. I hope you're at peace, Mom. The words hit me like a physical blow because I wasn't at peace, not even close. I started to remember things I'd tried to forget. The good moments with Marcus, the real ones before the affair, before the divorce, before everything fell apart. The way he'd made me coffee every morning, exactly the way I liked it. 2 sugars, a splash of cream. The way he'd kissed my forehead when he thought I was sleeping. The way he'd held Sarah for hours after she was born, tears streaming down his face, whispering, we made something perfect. We had been happy once. I'd erased those memories, painted over them with anger and hurt and betrayal. But they'd been real, just as real as the pain. And I'd spent 19 years refusing to acknowledge them. Why? Because admitting that Marcus had been good to me once meant admitting that people are complicated, that someone can love you and still hurt you, that you can be broken by someone and still carry pieces of them inside you forever. It meant admitting that forgiveness wasn't about him, it was about me. I don't know when it happened exactly. There was no lightning bolt moment, no divine voice telling me what to do. It was more like a slow thaw, like ice melting in spring. I thought about Sarah's words. Holding onto this anger, it's been killing me. And I realized she was right. The anger had killed me, not the cancer. The cancer had just been the final blow, but I'd been dying for years, slowly, silently, poisoned by my own refusal to let go. And even now, in whatever this existence was, I was still holding on, still gripping that pain like a talisman. Like if I let it go, I'd lose myself entirely. But maybe that was the point. Maybe I needed to lose myself, the self that had been built around pain and resentment, to find something else, something lighter, something free. I thought about forgiveness, really thought about it, not as weakness, not as approval, not as forgetting, but as release, as the choice to stop letting someone else's mistakes define my entire existence. Marcus had hurt me. That was true. He'd broken promises and shattered trust and walked away when things got hard. But I'd let that hurt become my identity. I'd wrapped myself in it, used it as armor, as an excuse, as a reason to stay closed off, to push people away, to never risk being hurt again. And in doing so, I'd hurt Sarah. Not intentionally, but hurt nonetheless. I'd taught her that love was dangerous, that trust was foolish, that the safest way to live was to keep everyone at arm's length. And now, even after my death, she was having to unlearn those lessons. She was having to choose forgiveness when I never could. I wish I could tell you there was a moment of clarity, a flash of light, a voice from above, something cinematic and profound, but there wasn't. It was just me, hovering in Sarah's apartment, watching her sleep, and suddenly understanding something so simple it almost hurt. Forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about choosing freedom over chains, peace over pain, the future over the past. It's about recognizing that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Marcus had moved on years ago. He'd remarried, built a new life, and I'd spent 19 years shackling myself to him anyway, letting his ghost haunt every decision, every relationship, every moment of joy I might have had. He'd hurt me once, but I'd hurt myself 1,000 times by refusing to let it go. I started to pray. I'm not sure who I was praying to. God, maybe. The universe. Whoever or whatever governed this strange in between existence. I prayed for Marcus, not because he deserved it, but because I needed to. I prayed that he'd find peace, that he'd stop carrying guilt, that he'd be a good father to Sarah in whatever time they had left. I prayed for Sarah, that she'd continue to heal, that she'd find love without fear, that she'd live the full, open hearted life I'd been too scared to live. And I prayed for myself, for release, for freedom, for the ability to finally let go. The shift happened gradually. I began to feel lighter, less tethered, as if the invisible chains that had been holding me to the world were loosening. Link by link, I could still see Sarah, still watch her, but the desperate need to stay, to somehow fix things, to make up for lost time, began to fade. She was going to be okay. Better than okay. She was going to be free in ways I never was. And that was enough. One evening, Sarah sat on her balcony with a cup of tea in her journal. She wrote for a long time. Then she stopped, looked up at the sky, and spoke out loud. Mom, if you can hear me, I want you to know something. I moved closer. I forgave Dad. Not because of him, but because of you. Because I saw what holding onto anger did to you. And I don't want that for myself. I don't want to waste my life being bitter. She paused, wiped her eyes. But I also want you to know, I forgive you too. The words landed like a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying. I forgive you for being angry, for building walls, for not letting me in. I know you were trying to protect yourself, protect me, and I know you did the best you could with the pain you were carrying. She took a shaky breath. I just hope you found peace, wherever you are. I hope you're not still holding on to all that hurt. Because you deserve to be free, Mom. You always did. And just like that, something inside me broke open. I'd been waiting for someone to give me permission. Permission to let go, permission to move on, permission to forgive. But the only person who could give me that permission was me. And I'd been too scared, too stubborn, too convinced that letting go meant losing. But Sarah had shown me something I'd never understood. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means gaining everything you've been missing while you held on. I thought of Marcus one last time, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with something I hadn't felt in 19 years. Gratitude, because he'd given me Sarah. And whatever else had happened between us, whatever pain and mistakes and broken promises, that one gift outweighed everything else. Sarah was proof that something beautiful could come from something broken. And if I could be grateful for that, maybe I could let the rest go. So I did. I forgave him, not out loud, not in words, just in the quiet space of my own consciousness. I forgave him for leaving, for lying, for choosing someone else, for not being the man I needed him to be. And in forgiving him, I forgave myself for not being perfect, for being angry, for building walls, for all the ways I'd failed to be the mother, the woman, the person I wanted to be. I forgave it all. And the moment I did, I felt something shift. The light came slowly at first, soft, warm, like dawn breaking after the longest night. It didn't come from above or below, it came from within. as if I'd been carrying it all along and just hadn't known how to access it. I looked at Sarah one last time. She was smiling now, writing in her journal, planning her future, living her life. And I realized I didn't need to stay anymore. She would be okay, more than okay. And so would I. I'd spent my whole life afraid of letting go, afraid that if I stopped holding onto pain, I'd have nothing left, that my anger was the only thing keeping me strong. But I'd been wrong. Letting go didn't make me weak, it made me free. The light grew brighter, warmer. It wrapped around me like an embrace, like coming home, like every moment of love I'd ever experienced distilled into pure, radiant energy. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything except it's light. I don't know what comes next. Heaven, maybe. Reincarnation, oblivion, it doesn't matter. Because in this moment, I am at peace. I am forgiven. I am free. If I could go back and tell my living self one thing, it would be this: forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about choosing to live unburdened by the weight of old wounds, to stop letting someone else's mistakes poison your present, to recognize that holding onto anger is a choice and that you can make a different one. I wasted 19 years holding on to pain that didn't serve me. Don't do what I did. Don't let bitterness become your identity. Don't wait until you're dead to finally let go. I think about Sarah often, even now, wherever now is. I see her in flashes, moments of light breaking through whatever veil separates us. I see her laughing with friends, falling in love, building a life full of joy and openness and vulnerability. I see her doing all the things I was too scared to do, and I am so, so proud. Maybe love doesn't end when we die. Maybe that's when it truly begins. When all the fear and pain and ego falls away, and all that's left is the purest form of what we were always meant to be: love, unfiltered, unconditional, unbound by time or flesh or mistakes. Maybe that's what heaven is: not a place, but a state of being, a state of finally letting go. I am light now. I am love. I am the lesson my daughter had to learn for both of us: that forgiveness is the only path to freedom, that grace is not weakness, but the ultimate strength, that we are all worthy of peace, no matter what we've done or what's been done to us. After I took my last breath, I thought everything would fade to black, but it didn't. Instead, there was light. And in that light, I found everything I'd been searching for my whole life: peace, forgiveness, freedom, home. If you're listening to this story, if you've stayed with me through death and grief and the slow, painful journey toward grace, then I want you to know something. You don't have to wait until you die to be free. You can choose it now. You can forgive the person who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You can let go of the anger you've been carrying, not because it wasn't justified, but because it's weighing you down. You can choose love over hate, light over darkness, the future over the past. You can choose freedom right now, today. I was only a woman, flawed, broken, angry for too long. But in death, I learned something I wish I'd known in life: that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about releasing, it's about choosing to live unburdened. It's about recognizing that we are all worthy of grace, even and especially ourselves. Maybe you're holding on to pain right now. Maybe someone hurt you so deeply you don't know how to let it go. Maybe you think forgiveness means weakness, means they win, means what they did was okay. But it doesn't. Forgiveness means you win because you're choosing freedom over chains, peace over poison, life over living death. You're choosing yourself. I wish I'd learned this sooner. I wish I hadn't wasted 19 years trapped in my own bitterness. But I can't change the past. All I can do is hope that my story, my mistakes, my regrets, my eventual liberation can help someone else choose differently, can help you choose differently. So if there's someone you need to forgive, whether it's someone else or yourself, do it now. Don't wait. Don't let your life pass you by while you're stuck in the past. Don't let anger be the thing that defines you. Choose grace. Choose freedom. Choose light. After I took my last breath, I thought everything would fade to black, but it didn't. Instead, there was light, and in that light, I finally understood. Love doesn't end when we die, it's set free. And so are we, if we let it, if we choose it, if we forgive. If this story touched something deep within you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Being Higher for more stories that lift your spirit and remind you what it means to transcend our pain and rise into grace. Because we're all on this journey together, learning to let go, learning to forgive, learning to become the light we've been searching for. I'll meet you in the next story. Until then, choose love, choose freedom, choose to be higher.